Hello everyone, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be checking out this, the SwitchBot K10 Plus. So as many of you know, I already have a robot vacuum, but SwitchBot reached out to me and said, hey, do you want to check out our miniature vacuum? And as you can see by the picture, this hand makes that vacuum look really tiny, and it's because it's supposed to be about 50% the size of the average robot vacuum, meaning that it can get into tighter corners and clean better than the average robot vacuum. So as you can see from this first page here, it works with Alexa, Google, Siri, IFTTT, works with IFT, as well as the SmartThings app. Then over here we got an underside view of the robot vacuum. And lastly, we have a list of all of the cool features. We'll try and touch on all of these throughout this video. Let's go ahead and start by opening this guy up here. Alright, first thing we see when we open it up is the user manual strapped right on top, as well as a card to find them on their social media and their app. And then right on top we have the vacuum. This is our SwitchBot K10 Plus. Tiny little vacuum here. I need to show you guys this. So inside of here we have handles to help you get this out, and this inside here is our emptying base. And there it is. On top of the base we have our little brushes and our whole base unit right here. So far I am very impressed with the product and the packaging here. This plastic is not just like cheap Chinesian plastic. This is some like premium plastic on this. So it's like, I know it doesn't matter because it's just something you're going to throw away after, but it means that they care enough about their product that they're going to get something that actually matters. And this is everything that comes in the packaging. We have our emptying station, the vacuum, and two brushes, one to be installed and I'm assuming the other is a spare, as well as a user's manual. Let's go ahead and start the setup process. Alright, so first things we're going to want to do is, there is a layer of protective film right here. I'm going to go ahead and peel that off. Next, we'll go ahead and remove our foam bumpers here from the vacuum itself. These pads just keep your bumper from moving in and out. Next, it says to pop open this top cover. It's just held on with 4 little magnets here. Literally, you just lift it up like that. And underneath, there is a power switch to turn it on. I is on, that's the left, O is off. And then of course we have this top panel here we'll peel off. And then on the back of our base here we do have a coil for our power cord, which is really nice for cable keeping so you don't have a whole bunch of extra wire hanging out, as well as a little Velcro strip, so if it doesn't actually work to have it right here, you can bundle it somewhere else or bundle it with other wires. We can pull our little cover off and plug this guy in. You may or may not be able to see it, but there's now a light right here on the front of our cleaning station here. So what you're supposed to do is press and hold this power button for 5 to 10 seconds. There we go.
Turned on.
And we'll go ahead and hit home.
Returning to charge.
Little first time driving around. Look at that!
Charging.
Perfect. And now we're ready to set it up in the app. The only thing we did miss in the initial setup is our brushes here. On the bottom here, there's kind of a square base, and that just pops onto this guy right here. There we go. Just like that. Now it's ready to go back home.
Returning to charge.
Next, let's go ahead and open up our dust bin section here. Peel off this guy. Alright, so when we open this guy up, first thing I notice is we have a little cleaner. This will help to clean out your brushes as well as be able to cut any hairs that are caught and wound up inside of there. That's nice to have. And then this is our mop attachment. We have our vacuum bag. So this is where all of the dust and gunk will go. Underneath that, we have a HEPA filter replacement, a replacement dust bag, and disposable mop cloths. From what I've seen online, these just look like giant wet wipes. And that's exactly what it feels like. It does have a couple of holes in it. Otherwise, this looks just like a really big wet wipe. We'll get into that in a little bit. Go ahead and put our dust bag back in here. Oh, got my bag pinched here. So pull your bag away when you're loading it. There we go. And then this little mop attachment can be stored right here when you're not using it. And to take it out, you just have a little latch right there that releases it. We can store it right there. Hey guys, at the time of filming this, I am so close to 3,000 subscribers. And to say thank you, I'm going to be hosting a giveaway. This will be run until the end of the year, December 31st, and you can get extra entries every single day that you enter. I'm going to be giving away 5 products that I've reviewed on this channel. This will be limited to the US just because I will be shipping it out myself, and names will be drawn in the new year. The gleam.io link will be down in the description of this video, and thank you so much for subscribing. Back to the video. Let's go ahead and open up the app here. SwitchBot. Go ahead and create an account. You can either sign up manually or create an account linked to like Google or things like that. Alright, we'll go ahead and hit add device. Hey look, it can see my Mini Robot Vacuum K10 Plus. You press the home and the power button at the same time.
Wi-Fi reset. Please follow the instructions shown on the app to connect the robot to your phone.
There we go. We found it. The Mini Robot Vacuum K10 Plus. Let's go ahead and configure. You'll then connect it to your Wi-Fi network. All right.
Connected.
It's saying the same thing. Let's go ahead and start using it. So we can choose, pick a room that it's in. Pick a room. So we've called it my office. Hit done. Room has been created. Pick the room. Okay, and hit next. So now it's telling us to set it up at where we want it. So right here on my desk is probably not ideal. Let's go ahead and move it to where it's actually gonna live. All right, so that's where it's gonna live. So let's go ahead and hit the next button. Before starting, make sure we organize our home and open all the doors, pick up cords, socks, and things. You can set up a do not disturb time frame so that like if it's running at night and it gets stuck, it'll just sit quietly until, you know, do not disturb is over. Wow, it has already mapped out the room it's in? That's interesting. Let's go ahead and kind of go over things here in the app as we get started. So we have a little empty dust.
Starting to empty dust.
Oh. Wow, that is noisy. Next one below empty dust here is vacuum mode. So we can turn on vacuum or mop only. So we're going to stick to vacuum mode because we don't have the mop attached yet. We have our cleaning times, how many times it's going to clean. We can save rooms, create no-go zones. And then it also has some stats here, estimated area, cleaning time, area clean, things like that. And we have our charging, telling you that it's actually charging, or you can tap that if it's not on the charger to go back to charging. We have our clean button that'll start it cleaning. Let's go ahead and pause that. And then we can change our cleaning mode by hitting standard. So there's a quiet mode, a standard, a strong, and a max. And then if we hit more, we have our edit map. So if we need to go in here and edit our map, we don't have a map yet, but we can go in there and edit the map. We can look at our map, but we don't have one. So in the top corner, we can hit create. And we have the option to fast map, where it'll just drive around and map out the home. Or you can say map and clean, where it'll map things out and clean at the same time. One will be slower than the other, as you can see here. Next to mapping, we have schedule, so we can tell it when we do want it to clean. So let's just go ahead and say every day at 1700. And then we have a cleaning report that tells us the history of cleaning. We don't have one yet, but it'll show that later. We have our voice package. This is kind of interesting because you have the built-in voice that it has, or if you'd like, you can go through here and add a couple of anime voices that they have created for you. They only have one in English, but they do have some in other languages, so that's kind of cool if that's something you're into. There's also the RC mode, where you can manually control this robot.
Remote control on.
So you can say, go to the right, go to the right, go to the left, forward, left, right, recharge.
Returning to charge.
Let's see, find bot if
I'm
it's
here. I'm here.
if it's find bot is if it somehow got stuck on something and it wasn't when you were looking for it. You can use that to help find it. So maybe it's stuck underneath the bed, under the couch, things like that. You'll click find bot.
I'm here.
And then we have accessory usage life. So this will give us the lifespan left on things like our HEPA filter, our side brush, our brush roller, the dust bag, and the sensors for the device. Also, clicking on each one will give you instructions on how to replace each of those. And lastly, the bottom one is sensors. You don't replace the sensors, you just clean them. So there you go. Let's go ahead and start doing some mapping here. Let's go ahead and go to map, create, fast map.
I'm going to start mapping.
Alright, so right now it's using the LiDAR on top of it here. This little LiDAR thing to look around the room and map it all out. It's going to go to everywhere that it can't see and get a detailed picture or image of everything. Alright, so that went okay for a first time use. There's obviously a lot of pain points and like a learning curve for every new device that you get to use. So this one, when doing the fast mapping, I set up the charging station in my office, which is on like one end of the house, and so it didn't end up mapping like the whole other side of the home. So what I ended up doing is using the RC mode, drove it to like the middle of the hallway where it can see like all of the doors, and just said, hey, map it from here. And it drove around mapping all that, and then it came back to that spot in the hallway. It's like, hey, I don't know where the charger is. So I had to manually drive it back into my office, back to the charger. Don't pick it up. If you want this to map correctly, do not pick it up. And then drove it back to the charger, hit the little recharge button once it was close, and it's like, oh, hey, now I know where it is, and it backed in, and now it should be good to go. So on these maps, you can edit them, things like that, so you can see that I changed them to be like hallway, bathroom, master bedroom, things like that. And as you can see, like right here, this is what it thought the rooms were, and this is not what it was. So you're able to draw lines to remap it to say, hey, this is actually what the map lines are. And in that whole process, it's actually pretty user-friendly. It did run into an issue where it got stuck between the legs of a chair and then the legs of a table that had, the table itself, the leg comes down and then it's a big flat leg, and there's nothing I can do about that. So the LiDAR on top of it can't see that, whereas it could see the legs of the chair. So it's like, okay, well, I'm hitting this chair, but I'm also hitting something over here that I can't see, some invisible wall. So it got wedged in there and I had a hard time getting out, but eventually it did make its way out. A larger vacuum wouldn't have even gone in there. But that LiDAR is really cool because it just like walks into a room, it's just like, I see everything. And it just like maps out, it knows the distance, things like that, and it knows where it is, which is really useful compared to my other robot vacuum that is not very bright. And then if you do want to edit the map, you'll just click on the edit map button here, and here you can go in and you can say, hey, you know what, you can see these two areas that you maybe want to merge. You can hit merge areas, you can say, click on the name to rename it, you can click on the little refresh and it'll automatically be like, hey, I think this is how the rooms should be redivided, things like that. Or you can split an area, so if it thinks one big area is, or two areas is one big area, you can say split area and draw a line, and then you can then go in and merge another area if it's combined, things like that. These are all fairly easy to do, and it also gives you instructions along the way. Very, very user-friendly. I'm impressed with this, very impressed with this so far. And then once you've created your map that you like, you can hit the save room division, and it will then save. And if I go back into my map options here, and you can see that map, that room division from the first time and to now. So if we want to edit the map, we'll just call this upstairs, done, confirm, and now upstairs is saved. I got it set to maximum power. We got about 97% battery. Let's go ahead and have this guy do a full cleaning and see how well it does. I did vacuum with like a traditional vacuum probably about a week ago. So let's see how much is accumulated in a week.
Initiating.
So that is the end of our first session, and it went fairly well. Looks like it did 64 minutes of cleaning and did about 44 square meters or 473 square feet of cleaning. At the very end, it did get itself stuck in the bathroom by going behind the bathroom door and closing it on itself. So I did end up creating a no-go zone that's behind the bathroom door, or basically where the bathroom door is, so that it won't close that door again on itself. Luckily, because it did close itself in the bathroom, we can actually see how it did on its first cleaning. Granted, this is gonna hopefully be the worst we will ever see, but let's go ahead and find out how bad it is. To get to the dust bin here, we're gonna just go ahead and pop up our top again, just the little magnets there, holding it on so you can just pop it straight up. And then you'll lift this lever here and pull up and away. Great. Looks like we got a little piece of a straw in here. And this dustbin is, well, tiny. But that's not a big deal because we have that self-cleaning base that'll suck all of this dust and crap out. But let's go ahead and see if we can open this ourselves. So let's see how much crap we got. Wow, it packed it in there. To open this, there's a little push. You'll actually push the plastic itself right there. It releases this tab right there. When you push here, it comes off of that and it'll be able to open up and get to there. Up above is our HEPA filter. So to change that one, you can swing this door open. There's a little piece of cloth there to help, well, maybe help you. Here we go. A little piece of cloth to help us get that guy out. Oh my goodness. That is so much dander. And then the vacuum itself, to reinstall our bin, you'll just slide it straight down and flip that lever down. And looking at the bottom here, we can see our brush here has gotten pretty filthy. So we'll just go ahead and release it by pushing down these two levers there to release that. You can actually pull the entire brush head out. This is when you can use that little hook that I was showing you at the beginning that's inside of the lid. If this isn't cleaned up well enough for you, look at all this hair on that guy. There's so much extra hair just wrapped around this guy. Look at that. And then when reinstalling your brush, one end is a black hexagon, the other one is a gray square. The gray square will go in the part that is a star-shaped gray spin to the drive part, and then your big black hexagon will go in this section where it just rests there. So you'll just insert this end first and then just let that rest down in. And then this guy here on the top here, there's two notches, don't let those throw you off. You're just gonna slide this up like that and then come down like this to attach those two to the rear side of the vacuum. Now we can replace our top cover. Just align the two holes and the magnets and it's good to go. Let's take a look at what's in the bowl here. We have a ton of just dust and obvious pet dander. If you look at the bottom here, we got a piece of a straw, a little piece of paper, lots and lots of dog hair here, a little bit of my wife's hair. But you can see just tons of dust and dander of places that we haven't been able to get to with like a regular vacuum. We even got a little bit of a candy wrapper. We even got a little rubber band in there. If I wasn't so excited about this being so much cleaner, I'd probably be a little embarrassed about how dirty this is. But my other vacuum gets almost this much every other day too. So I think the next cleaning will be less and it'll just continue to get better and better over time. This is pretty good. So that's what you can expect in one cleaning after 60 minutes right there. So after the 64-minute cleaning on maximum power, it used approximately 60% of the battery. It's now at 32% of battery life remaining. So that's actually pretty good. You could probably get away with running strong suction twice in a about 500 square foot space, or maybe run it once for 1,000. And of course you can always adjust it yourself for whatever suction you need for whatever space size you have. All right, we've pulled the mop attachment off of the lid of our emptying base, and we're gonna go ahead and attach a mop, one of the mop pads that's included. It does come with 30 mop pads, but you can honestly use, this looks like a Clorox wipe to me with 2 little notches. So if you make 2 little cuts in a Clorox wipe, you'll be able to do the same thing. What we do is we have those 2 hooks here at the top. We're gonna use those to hook on to those little holes there. You see that? Let's get it. There we go. So you can see it's holding on those 2 spots there. And then we'll wrap this up and around like this. And then if you look closely, you can see 2 little tabs. We'll slide the pad underneath those. So if you look closely, there's 2 little ridges here. So you'll want to make sure you tuck that in all the way to make sure we get the maximum grip. These little ridges are helping to hold that in, as well as over here. This section here is Velcro. It's on both sides. So you'll fold that down onto our Velcro pad and press that in to help hold it down just like that. And now this mop pad is ready to use. To install it on our robot here, we'll take these 2 little pads that are sticking through, the 2 little prongs, and they'll go into these 2 notches here. So you'll line those up there, and there.
Entering mopping mode.
And push until you hear a click. There's that little lever underneath this mopping pad here. So you'll click, and then it noticed that I had those in there. It has sensors to tell, and so now it knows that it's in mopping mode and it's ready to go mop the home. And then in the app, if you try to switch out of mop mode when the vacuum is attached, it'll give you a little error saying, hey, remove your mop before you can switch it out of mop mode, because this does cover your vacuum brush. And if you have parts of your home that have carpet and rugs like myself, you'll want to set a no-go zone for your mop itself. So we'll click on no-go zone and then click no mop zone. Then we can zoom in and set up our no mop zones. So we can say one is here in my office. All right, so there we go. Set up our no mop zones. Pretty easy. You can zoom in if you need to make sure that you got extra detail of exactly where those rugs might be or carpeted areas. Now I'm gonna go ahead and send this back to the home base, and we're gonna go ahead and do a mopping run. All right, and now we're gonna go ahead and start our mopping run.
Starting mopping.
Boy, I was just too excited. So I didn't set up my rug correctly, and that might not be the only issue, but our mopping pad did not make it all the way through the session, and this was only a tiny space that it did clean, but because it had to back up and things like that, the backing up motion pulled this off, and so when driving forward it just slides it forward and it'll never actually pull off because it's got those hooks. But yeah, that totally came loose off of here. When it comes time to replace them, you just peel that up, and then throw that away, get a new one. In that tiny little space, it didn't pick up a whole lot. It wasn't terribly dirty. But this pad is now completely dry. It'd be nice if there was like a water reservoir or a cleaner reservoir. I could add like some sort of cleaner to it to be able to, I don't know, clean longer. Because I think that mopping pad probably would be dry within about 10 minutes. Having to do 60 minutes on the last area, lasting 10 minutes as a mopping pad it's just gonna be dry after that. I don't know. It might just become like a dusting pad at that point, which I'm not totally sold on the mopping option. But honestly, for robot vacuums, I don't buy them for that. My other vacuum here, it has a mopping attachment where it can sweep and mop at the same time, and I never use the mopping option. There's even like a little water reservoir on the back where you can add your cleaners and or water to clean your floors with, but I've never used it. So with this one, I don't know that I ever will use that, because mostly I just want it for like day-to-day upkeep and cleaning of things. So this will be really great at what it does do, but we'll see how it does over the long term. I do want to also mention the self-emptying base on this guy. While the vacuum itself is decently quiet and reasonable, do not put this base somewhere that needs to be quiet, because that is loud. Like, holy cow, it is loud. The first time it turned on, it made me jump. It was loud enough for that. So I think that's something definitely to keep in mind, is that cleaning base. Don't put it somewhere that is going to be, that you would want quiet, like in a baby's room or in your living room right after it finishes cleaning. It, granted, only runs for a couple of seconds to clean out the dustbin, but it is very, very loud. That 4-liter dustbin, also 4 liters. That's really awesome. I really want to bring that up, is that that's a nice big dustbin at 4 liters of garbage. So I'm not terribly worried about filling it up too soon, but we'll go ahead and see how that all goes. All right, so I've now had this guy for about a week, and let's just kind of go over some of the things with this guy. So the silent tech. I did a decibel test where I just had it vacuum around in a circle about 4 feet away from me, and the sound readings I got were a little bit higher. Of course, if you move further away, those decibel readings go lower, and so them being off by a little bit, not such a big deal. My base is the Tyrone G8000. I've done a video on that one, and that's a very dumb, basic robot where you can turn it on, you can turn it off, you can tell it has a mop, it doesn't, but it doesn't do true mapping, where like it'll show you a map of like, hey, this is where I went, but you can't tell it not to go places, you can't tell it without having like a physical barrier. This one is really smart, where you can set up no-go zones, you can adjust the mapping, all that, but let's get back to where I was talking about, the decibels. The Tyrone is 68 decibels. While the SwitchBot, in its quiet mode, I got 54 decibels, was about the average of the high. In standard mode, I got 60 decibels, and then in strong mode, I got 65 decibels. And then the last one, when I pushed it all the way up to maximum mode, it was marginally louder. Like, I didn't notice a difference, and the decibel meter didn't notice a difference either. We saw 66 decibels for that one. So not a huge difference from strong to max, so I might even consider switching my default on this from strong to standard, just so it's a little bit quieter. However, one thing that I do want to reiterate, and I mentioned it earlier, and I may have mentioned it more than once earlier, but the self-emptying base, oh my heavens, it is so loud. It came in at a whopping 80 decibels. That's equivalent to like a lawnmower. Full-on lawnmower outside in whatever room you're in, just granted, like I said, it only runs for a few seconds. We're talking maybe 10, 15 seconds, but it's loud. Something to keep in mind, so like wherever you're putting it, don't put it in a place that needs to be quiet. However, while we're on the topic of the dustbin, it is really nice because it actually has a 4-liter like catch bag in the top. It'll hold up to 4 liters of space. One other thing I did want to mention with this guy, where I have this stored, I had to bring it, I actually had it initially pushed all the way in the corner against the wall here, but you have to bring it off and away from the wall because the vacuum does have a hard time getting to our base here if it's too close to a wall. So move it, if anything, if it's not in the center of a wall, move it just a few inches away from the corner. Otherwise, it will have difficulties getting into our station with it being all the way against a wall like that. Now let's talk about how little this guy is. They advertise it being 50% the size of the average home vacuum. And when measuring, my Tycom G8000 is 12.5 inches wide. And this guy, the SwitchBot K10 Plus, is 9.5 inches. And while you're thinking, that's a 3-inch difference, Grant, there's no way. Do the math of the area of a circle. It takes up almost 50%. I did the math on these two and it came out to about 57%, which is pretty close considering they're probably measuring off of a vacuum that's bigger than this one. Maybe has a whole lot of other features, but one of the biggest things to take in mind is it's not smaller this way. So if you look here, we have that LiDAR here. That LiDAR is a very useful tool, but my other vacuum doesn't have that. And it's also a lot cheaper. This LiDAR makes it so that it can't get underneath as many things either. So that is something to keep in mind if you have couches that you want it to clean under. If your couch is too short, this won't be able to get under it. For some reason, I've never had an issue with it, but I'm still worried about it with every vacuum I've looked at here, is the thresholds in my home. This is a very old home, so we have some original floors, and then other places we have laminate floors that have been laid on top of the original wood floors, and so the transitions can be kind of rough and big and a little unforgiving. And this has had no trouble getting through those transitions. Every once in a while you'll see it bump into it, whatnot, but it still can traverse those thresholds without a problem. Earlier I mentioned that if you just like take it down from max mode to like strong suction mode, it should be able to clean a lot more space. And while it can clean quite a bit in the strong mode, I have it set up on a daily routine, and in there you can choose if you want it to clean every surface twice, if you want to clean it in strong mode, quiet mode, whatever. You can change all those things. And so I have it set up to clean all the surfaces twice, and I have it on strong suction, and it takes about 4 hours total. So a lot of that is taken in charging because it will do the majority of it, and then the battery will be almost dead, so it'll drive back to the charger, charge itself, and something really cool is after it finishes charging, which takes an hour and a half, 2 hours, it goes back out to exactly where it left off and continues cleaning. So you don't even have to worry about like it forgetting where it left off. Like, this is super cool that it's smart enough to know like, hey, I stopped here, I need to pick up here, like the dustbin is full, I need to go empty it and then go continue cleaning. It's impressively smart, but recharging takes an hour and a half to 2 hours. When it does do the cleaning twice in each room, it actually goes in both directions. So it'll go one way the first time and then it'll go perpendicular the second time, which is, I think, really awesome, so that to make sure it gets all of those nooks and crannies and gets a lot better clean. I don't know about my wife, but I can definitely tell a difference. I don't see dust bunnies around in the corners anymore, and it doesn't feel as stuffy. It's weird to say, but like just having a clean floor all the time just feels better. It's nice. Back to when I was talking about the automation, it does take 4 hours total to clean, but the actual cleaning time was only 131 minutes, which is 2 hours 11 minutes of actual cleaning time, while the rest was spent traveling back and forth from the charger to empty itself or to charge. So earlier I mentioned in the mop section that the cleaning pad looks a lot like a Clorox wipe. And so I went and grabbed one of my Clorox wipes to kind of compare the differences. And my Clorox wipe is about the same size, but a different shape, so it may or may not work. If you do end up looking for replacement pads and just going for something simple like a Clorox wipe style pad, make sure you're getting a larger one. Maybe see if you can find something that's in a package like this, kind of like these wet wipes, to make sure that they are actually big enough. So after getting it initially set up and working out all of the kinks, I still have one frustration with this thing. And one thing that just like, oh, it bugs me. The most frustrating thing is like, my office is a dynamic space. So I'm moving the lights around, I'm moving my camera around, and so the tripods are never in the same spot. Well, that poses an issue because this guy using LiDAR, it sees, I'll just use this little thing as an example, it sees the leg of a tripod and it thinks, oh, it's straight up and down, so it comes up to here. But unfortunately, it's like this, so when it comes up to here, it's bumping into my tripods, it's pushing around my light stands, and so I've kind of had to like create a process for myself to always put my light stands back away when I'm done, and then I created a no-go zone around the feet so that it will purposely not bump into the legs of my tripods. But it was really frustrating at first, but these no-go zones have gotten really helpful. I put them around like my wife's desk because it keeps on running up on the feet of that one that I mentioned earlier where it was like getting stuck between. Well, it started driving up on it and getting stuck. So I've had to create a lot of no-go zones, but once they're in place, this thing is seamless. Like every day it starts at the same time, it cleans the whole house, I don't have to think about it, and it just feels good to have a cleaner space. And the last thing I want to talk about is our accessory usage life. So we'll go here into more and then accessory usage life. And so after about a week of use, this is how much has been used in my home, where it's cleaning a little over 400, almost 500 square feet, but it does it twice in each room. So it's equivalent to 968 square feet, or it reads it as like 90 square meters. But my filter, the filter inside of here is at 88%. The side brush here says that it's got 91% of life. The brush roll itself down here in the bottom is at 94%. Our dust bag, it's still recommending 2 to 3 months. And our sensors are saying that they're at 43%. So it'll probably give us a notification to clean those sensors sooner than everything else. And you can click on that and it'll actually talk you through how to clean each one of those sensors. And you can click wiped and it will then reset the sensor count. And that is the world's smallest robot vacuum, the SwitchBot K10 Plus. If you have any questions about this guy, let me know down in the comments below. I try to be as responsive as I can. Don't forget to enter into the giveaway drawing I have linked down in the description of this video. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask those. I try to be as responsive as I can in the comments of my videos. If you appreciated this video, please consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.